Egypt is going to get U.S. military help once again because the White House said that they are ready to provide Egypt, listen, with 12 F-16 airplanes, 20 Harpoon missiles, and up to 125 tank kits. This cache of weapons was part of a delivery that was actually suspended back in 2013 after the military coup ousted President Mohamed Morsi and cracked down on his supporters. President Obama is also requesting over $1 billion in military assistance, mostly in the form of foreign military financing. The United States has had a decades-long strategic relationship with Egypt, but since the August 2013 Egyptian government crackdown, the Arab Spring, we have made clear our commitment to simultaneously pursue our security interest and our support for meaningful Egyptian political reform. Nick, this is very, very important because, yes, we've had this very strong military relationship with Egypt for decades now, and it's one of our main allies in the region, but is it okay for us to keep sending weapons to a region of the world that it's already in a deep, deep conflict?
We're doing it for a reason. We're doing it because we probably have to. What this tells us, the F-16s, all the money, the billions that we're spending on it, it really shows how serious the situation is. Like, we're not playing games. They just announced the Joint Arab Force. I'm sure this has a lot to do with that. We're talking about Egypt, one of our biggest allies in the Middle East, who's basically surrounded by countries who have fallen into turmoil, really unstable region. So, I mean, it's nothing new. From 1979 to 2003, following a peace treaty, we spent $19 billion on military aid to Egypt, another $30 billion on economic aid. That's a lot of billions, and we're just continuing to do it, and it's like it never ends.
Well, if you think that that was a lot of money already, wait, because here is how it's going to work. Basically, Egypt right now joins Israel in a very, very exclusive club where these countries, only two of them outside of NATO, can actually have an unrestricted line of credit for any military equipment that they want to order, as long as Congress keeps approving these permissions. That it's insane. They can keep ordering equipment and military supplies that take years to make and years to be delivered today, and still expect for Congress to pay for that in the future, regardless of the president that is in power. But the bright side of it is that maybe this signifies a trend of the U.S. to stop fighting directly in these Middle East conflicts, and instead is deciding to take kind of a side road and say, we're going to support our allies that are in the region, that are closer to the action, and then we don't have to get our hands dirty.
Well, we have to. I mean, it's better than going in there, boots on the ground, risking own American lives and causing a lot more damage. We're sitting back, letting them fight their own battles in the Middle East. Unfortunately, you know, it's something we have to do because if we look at Egypt, we're seeing Libya, Yemen, these countries that used to help us in the fight against terrorism, the governments, they're collapsing. And those very terrorists are running amok in those countries. So it's very necessary to have a stable country who's our friend, like Egypt, to help us out. It's our only choice.
Yeah. And as we see in the picture, President Obama joined Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, the Egyptian president, and they sat down and not only discussed the details of this agreement, but also they talk about exactly what you're saying, Yemen, and how this Arab coalition is targeting the Shiite Houthi rebels, and what do they need to do to stop that threat in Yemen right now. But for me, what is really interesting is this idea that we are going to start feeding a lot of weapons to Egypt, but also we're going to stay a little longer in Afghanistan to provide with military training. Also, we are just providing with airstrikes in the fight against ISIS in Iraq and Syria, and at the same time collaborating with Iran, letting them, you know, go into these regions where there might be even more sectarian violence because of this introduction of the Irani support. And the U.S., in the rest of the world perception, is not getting involved like it used to. So it's kind of a win-win situation for the U.S. where they can still protect their interest and at the same time stop being perceived as the imperialist country that goes everywhere and decide what is best for others.
We'll just do it behind a veil, kind of exactly what Iran is doing in Yemen and other countries. But yeah, obviously for a greater good, not like at all what Iran is doing for another country. I don't want to say that, but yeah, you're right. That's totally right. We're doing it. We're getting it done without getting our hands dirty. A new way of getting things done. A lot more cooperation between us and Middle East countries than before. It's great. I mean, you see us. We have these huge ships, 50 miles off the coast of Iran that are helping us carry out the airstrikes in Syria and Iraq. And it's like you wouldn't have had that kind of cooperation a few years ago. So a lot of change, I think, for the better, despite the dire situation that's in the Middle East. Things like this are good. Yeah, we're spending a lot of money, billions and billions, jets, boats, this and that. But hey, you got to do what you got to do.
Some will argue that money will be better spent here in the United States.
I think anybody will argue. Anybody will argue it, but yeah.
We want to know, what do you think? Do you think that we should be spending this amount of money here in social programs in the U.S., or it's okay for us to spend this money with our allies in the region, or should we go and keep a policy of boots in the ground in the Middle East? Let us know what you think in the comments. And if you haven't, please subscribe to the Lib TV.